And panelists, please, I know I've kind of shared the questions with you, but no question is for any one person or any group. So anything you want to add in, chime in, please do. It's just open. So this is just us sharing information and talking about the workforce in Etowah County. So the first question I'm going to give is really kind of, I think, directed to all of you. But how would each of you describe the current manufacturing workforce landscape here in Etowah County?
The current landscape here in Etowah County, in my opinion, we're limited, but we are improving. Things like this are what's going to help us improve our workforce. We were on a path downward. We all know it, seeing Goodyear leave, Gulf State Steel leave, seeing a lot of our talent go to bigger OEMs outside of this area has hurt our ability to get reliable talent and retain that talent. So I think we're making improvements now. Through some of the interviews that I'm doing, I'm seeing better talent come through the door. So right now I'm interviewing 3 of the FAME graduates that just graduated this past year. So that's going to be an improvement for us because they're starting at a higher level.
Sure. I don't think I think we're in a current state of revitalization, which we've needed for a long time, and there is a lot of promotion for advanced manufacturing, and that's why I am in the manufacturing industry. And Gadsden State has been such a great part of this revitalization for our company. We're a very small company, and we're getting these students in, and they're so excited about a future and about manufacturing. And it's just boundless to see their energy when they come in. And we need to see the mega site filled. I don't know where we are on that right now, but we need some more manufacturing and seeing that filled. And that would be a great help for Gadsden and Etowah County.
Lisa, I guess I'm going to pick on you as somebody that's out in the community. What have you seen, basically, how this potentially helped them with the landscape? Because I know you're out in the community, you see many different industries, you talk with chambers, various places. So what's your perspective that you've seen from the current workforce landscape here in Etowah County?
So I'm going to agree with what our panelists have already said, but I think there's some opportunity. We've got some tremendous K through 12 programs happening right here in our workforce region, and especially here in Etowah County, between what Mark Stansel does at the Etowah County Career Tech Center, Gadsden City Schools, what Etowah City Schools does in conjunction with Etowah County. So we've got some really tremendous programs that are great feeders for Gadsden State Community College. But getting that message out and getting that word out so that mamas and daddies know that, manufacturing jobs are great jobs. They're high wage, high demand. They're going to be here with us. That's what our bread and butter here in East Alabama. And so we really need to, tap into that, but ensuring that, those family members know what great opportunities are right here. And, to start in high school and to be able to cultivate that into, a great 2-year degree certification or credential is I think, on the rise. Mm-hmm.
Anybody else before I pick on somebody?
I might have a comment. I moved to Gadsden in 2016 from Canada. You might pick up on the accent. When I moved here, it was to join our Canadian-owned company. Prince Metal Stampings is a Canadian-owned company here in town, and we decided to move south to be near the OEMs, et cetera. And we were told when we moved our company here that there was ample skilled trades in the area. I mean, I don't disagree that there's still trades in the area, but I think the issue was they were all working, okay? There was no one coming up the pipeline. And that lull is what's affecting us all now with retirement. These tool makers, automation techs, maintenance techs, they're getting older, they're retiring. Some of them, I might be a little rough around the edges, but if you've met some of these skilled trades, sometimes they're a little bit rough around the edges and they don't want to take on training the new guy. They did their hard knocks, they earned their piece or their jobs, and One of the things we're struggling with is we might have somebody that's interested, but we don't have trainers in-house that are willing to take these people under the wing like you might have done back in the past. So we need these structured programs to bring up these students out of school to become the replacements for these people that are about to retire. And it's not easy. That gap, there's a big gap there of what's available and when they're going to be ready to be on their own. You know, taking somebody under your wing is great, but until they can go do the job on their own, that's the big gap. You want to add it though?
I'm gonna pick on one more person, so I know, I'm sorry, Jeff, you guys, please go ahead.
Yeah, I see it being on the upswing. I think a lot of it's salesmanship. People understand what manufacturing jobs are. I know when I grew up in the 70s and 80s, everybody in this county pretty much was looking for a manufacturing job, because if you got a job at Gulf State Steel or Goodyear Tire and Rubber, you're set for life. And they were dirty, nasty jobs, and that's what a lot of people had in their minds of manufacturing. I think as we keep getting the sales out, of people understanding what you can make in a manufacturing facility, and that manufacturing facilities are not the dirty, grimy places they used to be. A lot of them is pretty clean. I think as people understand that and realize what they can make, I see it being on the uptick. And I, like I said, coming into a facility like right here that they have at Gadsden State with this mass manufacturing facility, and you come into something like this, I think parents are excited to get their kids in programs like this because it's a nice new building with nice modern equipment, and they realize what manufacturing can be. And that's just what people's got to understand, that manufacturing is a great place to earn a living. It's just amazing if you talk to what some of the people working in manufacturing make and realize, wow, I didn't know you could make that. So I believe you're just getting the word out about what manufacturing is again.
Shed, one last thing. So from another perspective on that very same question, because I think that's great. I think the industry has kind of pointed to where we were and hopefully where we're going. And you see that you got from guys and gals coming into your doors, you know, going to work, interviewing, and Jeff sees the same thing, but I want a different perspective. So you may not realize, but Keri Wood, our work-based learning manager, she also oversees 2 of our apprenticeship programs, our FAME and COMM. So she's in high schools and in K-12 and in workforce or career tech centers, recruiting these students, talking to these students about it. So Keri, if you don't mind, would you kind of give us your perspective that you've seen? I think Jeff kind of touched on it. It's not maybe not the same perspective we used to have with the dark, dirty, dangerous. Can you kind of elaborate, talk about what you've seen and the shift in the trend and how that's increased our applications for these programs and the awareness?
Yes, so I am the work-based learning manager, and I had 2 work-based learning programs, which is going to be FAME, which is Federation of Advanced Manufacturing Education, and COMM, which is the Consortium of Machine Education Training. In both of these programs, when I start the recruiting in the fall, we have began to see that some of these students have actually heard of these programs. The last year, our applications have actually gone up. Over both programs, we've had over 250 applications. We have signed the biggest classes for both programs just this last spring. And the reason for that is because not only, and most of these students are going to be around the 18-year old, but a lot of the time it's not only because of the money, it's because of the stability of the jobs. Also, our employers are asking for more and more of these applicants and these students because they do know that they will get training with us 2 days a week in either field, and they're going to go to work within 4 days a week to get that hands-on experience that they need, because there's not any better experience than if you're able to go to school for 2 days and you go apply that application 4 days a week.
Great. Thank you, Buzz. So I'm going to follow up on this one. I'm going to kind of target industry. So Andrew, Sherry, Chris, Sherion, as an industry perspective, what are you guys seeing are the most pressing challenges you're facing when it comes to finding and retaining skilled workers? I know you touched on it a little bit, but can you touch on that a little bit more? Especially Andrew, that's overseeing the tooling manager, probably especially the retaining and training.
Yeah, the things that I know, I moved down here when my kids were 10 and 12, and I got one that's been graduated 2 years. He's a heavy equipment mechanic, and I got one graduating tomorrow, and he's going to be either a welder, pipe fitter, something like that. So I kind of have a unique perspective going through the school system, dealing with the school system, with my kids wanting to be tradesmen. So the biggest challenge I find is changing the teachers, principals, schools' minds about skilled trades. It's definitely gotten better, but there's still this mindset of, you know, the kids that go to the Etowah Trade School are looked down upon. Not all the teachers, but there's definitely this mindset that it's hard to work around schedules when my kids wanted to do sports and trade school. There's no working around it, whereas if kids wanted to get into something else, they were willing to work around it. So there's a struggle on school level, and I realized that when I first moved down here because my kid was in middle school at the time, and this is what really opened my mind. And I had a meeting with the principal with my kid, and she told me when I told him, oh, he's probably going to be a mechanic or something when he grows up, and she said, well, let's not pigeonhole him into that, right? He just said those few words after that. So, and he's doing well. He's been 2 years out of school. He's making $1,000 a week, no debt. But we got to change, not just at high school, it's the middle school, the grade school. My kids are hands-on learners. There's not that opportunity in a lot of schools. They don't, you know, everybody learns differently. And I think if we dial this stuff in at a middle school level and not just wait to high school, I think we'd even be more successful. Realizing some of these kids, you know, learn differently, just like my kids. Like I said, I kind of have a unique perspective on it. But we really need to, and then the parents, you know, we got to stop pushing the 4-year degrees at college. You know, AI is going to take over. I think everybody in here knows, but these jobs we're talking, they're not going anywhere. And they're only going up. Like, you know, it's nothing to, within 3 or 4 years after high school to be making 6 figures in a trade and not have any debt. Or these kids are coming to, I know kids that are finishing college now and they don't even know what they're doing and they got all this debt. You know, but they've been pushed by parents not knowing what's the opportunities. So I know Keri does a good job with talking to the kids in the high schools, but I think we need to get the parents at these places too and talk to the parents. Yeah. I think if we get the parents involved, because I know my kid, I don't know who they got kids in school, I don't know what's going on. My kids don't tell me what's going on. They don't come home and say, hey, Keri came and talked to us about the common program. I don't get that. Maybe some kids do, but I think we need to get the parents into these same type of meetings and kind of explain to them, and it might open their eyes more. You know, what's the opportunity? Because for years and years, and it's changed. Like I said, I've been down here 10 years. Probably within the last 5, I'd say it's probably 50%'s gotten better in the high schools and stuff where teachers they're coming in and visiting our manufacturing. We're telling them the opportunities, how much money these kids could be making, and they're starting to change their minds. So that's the biggest struggle, is just changing that mindset of after high school, you got to go to the college for 4 years. You know, and a lot of these times, these kids, they don't even know why they're going to college. They're just getting a 4-year degree for something. So I think that's the biggest thing, is getting the parents, you know, and kids involved. And even like at the middle school level, kind of introducing this kind of manufacturing type skill set. Because I'll be honest, I'm kind of cynical when I see all this manufacturing. I want to see manufacturing flourish within the county, but I'll be honest, I don't know where these people are coming from. Like this Mint group, I'm excited, but when I first saw it, I'm just like, where are the people coming from? We struggle. And if they're bringing in 1,400 people and we struggle finding 20 people.
I hope they're bringing them.
Yeah, I don't know where it's happening unless they're coming in from hours away. I'm all about growth and success within the county, but I just don't know where it's going to come from, people-wise.
Quick comment, if I can. You mentioned parents a lot, Andrew, and you said you weren't going to talk today, by the way.
No, I know. That's probably the only thing we said. The parents, I just wanted, you commented a little bit about parents. When we attended the signing night a couple weeks ago for FAME, Prince Metal Stampings took on 3 FAME students, and I met the parents of 2 of them were there that night. And the one set of parents looked at me with such concern, asking if my company was safe. Is he going to be okay there?
And I got a feel for one of the concerns that it might be letting your children go work in the industry. You know, it's not a cushy desk. It's not, there's not AC, but it's a good paying job. And I can guarantee you, we operate in a safe manner. And I think the persona of a manufacturing facility might be a little tarnished, that it's dirty and loud and unsafe. And okay, we have accidents. Sure, we have accidents. People cut their fingers. We had an injury the other day, but it's not because we don't have procedures in place. It's because people don't act in a safe manner or don't follow procedures. But it was a concern for me that was the parents, not a concern, but it was the first thing they talked to me about is, are they going to be safe there? And that needs to change. Maybe the parents come like the kid, film the tours. Whatever's holding it back needs to change, because we are flourishing, to use your word, in this community. There's lots of opportunities, and we need to get the persona that we're not an unsafe facility gone.
I'm going to follow up on what she's talking about. When I was 18, I went to work at Gulf State Steel. Some of you probably remember it. When I was in the coke plant, I was cleaning out coal conveyors. That's what parents think their kids are walking into today. It's not. They're working with robot pendants. They're working with a laptop computer home programming. They're troubleshooting some low voltage 24 volt stuff. They're not dealing with the exposure to high risk safety that we dealt with coming up. We have light curtains, which are beams to where if they break it, it kills power to everything in it. We have area scanners that protect them. They walk in the area, everything shuts down. That's the things that we need to educate the parents on, instead of just going to manufacturing job. So we get them to where they're safe for their kids going into manufacturing, and they see what they can make, and like he touched on, coming out debt-free, then we can start growing our younger generation quicker. You do the safety, art flash training and all that.
Thank you, guys. Well, and I'm going to say, I kind of go back to something Andrew commented on. So I think, Andrew, you said maybe the last 5 years, you've seen a more positive uptick and shift.
100%.
I think I'm going to call out, I know Mr. Mark Stansel, or any other K-12 educators in here besides Mark Stansel, Middle Walker Tech, Dax State here, but really post-secondary. On the K-12 side, I think that's something, and I'll give credit to Mark and them. Mark, correct me if I'm wrong. About 5 or 6 years ago is when you guys started having your regional, local CTE conference, started sending counselors and teachers and everybody to tour the manufacturing facilities, I believe, about that same timeline, is it not? Or maybe 6, 7 years ago, which led to this change?
Yeah, this is our 6th year of having, we have a 3-year tech conference for our region. A group of directors, there are 15 directors in our region, and Lisa Rouse has been a new step to it as well. But we put this together, matter of fact, and central location kind of Oxford this year will be at Oxford High School. We'll have about 250 career tech teachers there from every program area, and all the administrators, all of our 2-year and 4-year colleges are involved with that. A lot of business entry partners. Day one's kind of general session stuff and general and information stuff. Day 2, we divide up in our program areas, and we're all over the region of the ag teachers. They may be somewhere in Cleveland County doing things with artificial insemination last year, something that tracked their area, health sciences, something will be at Jack State this year on their campus. So it's just pretty neat to get all those folks together and let them work together and share best practices that they help they build strong partnership with the industry and with our post-secondary partners as well.
I think that's been key. I'll just speak from my side. I think that's been important to see, because I know at Gadsden State, Jack State, I'm sure you guys have done the same thing. So we made a big push about 6 years ago we started seeing kind of what Andrew was talking about. It was hard you might find a kid that's interested who wants to go in their program, but then they go on and talk to the parent or the grandparent or aunt and uncle. They're like, well, I don't know what that is. I don't know if that's a good plan. I don't know if you should do that. And I do think it goes back to the same thing Chris was talking about. But they still see the jobs today as dark, dirty, dangerous. The 3Ds is what we call it. But we started going out then and trying to get counselors, trying to get K-12 educators, because I think that's the other thing you have to keep in mind. A lot of these K-12 educators are very influential for the path of all these students take. but they're with them day to day. They get to talk to them. They say, well, hey, they encourage or point them in a direction. Well, a lot of K-12 educators are no fault of their own. All they've known is school. They've gone to school, went to school, and come back to school to teach. That's all they've known. So I think that goes back to kind of what Mark is talking about with his local conference. Now the counselors getting out. I know a lot of our manufacturing industries lately have started offering externships for teachers into their facilities so they can see. So really it's almost gone to now also educating the counselors and the teachers. Let them see the good opportunities and that it's not the same major jobs it was in the 70s and the 60s. It's a lot different now. It is high tech. You need a computer. You need some advanced training. You can't just come in, as old adage used to say, you need a strong back and a weak mind. Well, that's not the case anymore. You've got to have a strong mind. You've got to be able to have the skills and knowledge to submit and work. So I think that kind of ties into some of the changes we made as a region with our K-12 leadership and then our 2 4-year institutions that have come alongside them. They have kind of educate educators, sounds kind of crazy to say, but educate educators, show them things and opportunities out. So another question, you guys. Jeff, I'm going to pick on you specifically. No pressure. How does Alabama Training Network, and I'm so glad that we had a conversation about this, and that's a great name change, and I'm probably going to be the one to call it wrong, and I've got it wrong on our agenda. They're not the technology network anymore because they are a training network. They're doing training, but great name change needed. But how does Alabama Training Network help local manufacturers upskill their employees quickly, especially as you're getting new technology coming on all the time?
Well, Andy, our whole goal is to work with manufacturers in this area and all over the state. And what we do is we're a bunch of engineers that used to work in manufacturing, and we somehow figured out a way, I guess, to get an education. But what we'll do is come out and do short-term training, a day, a week, not a whole semester. Most of the things that we have is going to last at the most a week, but just help with any need the company may have. And like I said, he was talking about safety earlier. One of the things we do going all over the state and this county is working with companies on arc flash training. All electrical equipment has the potential to blow up on you. So we make sure everybody understands what the dangers of that is and what PPE you need to wear and what distance you need to stay away and what all procedures you need to do to make sure you work safely and go home and don't get in a arc flash where you end up in a burn unit. And like I said, every time I do the training, I tell people, when I was coming through electrical engineering, nobody ever told me that stuff could blow up on me. When I worked at Gulf State Steels for 8 years, and I was all in that 2400 volt switch gear and messing with stuff, even higher voltages than that, nobody ever told me that could blow up on me. When I first started doing the training on it, I kind of got mad because I was like, nobody ever told that to me. But anyway, we try to make people safe, and that's one thing, other things we got going. I think I've actually put some cards on your tables, and I've got some more if you need it, but just kind of tells what all we do. We work with people. We help people with leadership. If you got a leadership problem or you got some leadership training, I've got guys and gals that come in and do leadership training with you. The thing probably the dearest to my heart is industrial maintenance. And we've got a lot of training equipment. We can come out and do hydraulics with you or motor controls or basic electrical, whatever. We're going to do a short certificate, a couple days to a week to get your further train your employees. We do all the environmental safety and health stuff. And a lot of that stuff's regulatory, so we stay pretty busy doing it because the federal government says you have to do this kind of training for so many years, and so we're able to do that. We also work with people doing continuous improvement, all the lean manufacturing kind of stuff to make your plant more efficient, but also coming in and do quality engineering and quality services. And then we also work with people doing, we've made a name change. We was calling it food safety, but we're calling it agribusiness and food safety now. So anyway, that's what we do. We work with you, and we're there to, I know, talked a minute ago, always have somebody to train your people or, somebody on your staff to train. That's what our goal is to come be your trainer and help get your people trained up so they can do the job better and make more money for your company.
So I guess another question, I'm like, Lisa, so for somebody that's in the community and in different industries and talking, I know you've been in large manufacturers, small manufacturers of all shapes, forms, and fashions to different products. Have you seen, just as Jeff kind of alluded to, sometimes they don't have a dedicated training. So in your conversations with them, what advice would you give, or have you given them potentially about engagement programs like Jeff and them offer at ATN, us at Gadsden State, our four-year institution at JSU? What advice have you given them to engage, potentially seek help that way, or what would you advise them to do?
So for nearly 11 years, I met with business and industry about what their workforce problems and challenges were. I've only been at Gadsden State for less than a year. I've learned a lot about the college system in a year. But so for that 11 years, listening to business and industry, I would hear their challenges and problems. And then based on what those problems and opportunities were, I would bring the other partners to the table. So it could be Alabama Training Network, it could be Gadsden State, Jack State, our career center systems, Department of Rehab Services. I would hear what they needed and then bring those partners back to the table with them to help build what they were looking for. You know, just because they're a small company doesn't mean they don't have big problems. And we're here, whether it's Gadsden State or all those other providers, we're here to help them and be that resource to them. You know, maybe to find grants to help them be able to afford that training. I've referred folks to ATN for leadership training all the time because I've, you know, personally experienced it, so I knew how great it was and was able to share that information. So there are resources out there. So just because you may be a smaller company doesn't mean that your problems are less important to any of the resources around us.
Thank you, Lisa. So, industry, I want to target you guys and ask you another question. As industry leaders that are here from many different fields, what specific technical skills or certifications are you finding the hardest to find among your job applicants? So people that are coming seeking, go knocking on your door, trying to find a job. What have you found to be one of the hardest skills or certifications? And is it something like machining, welding, mechatronics, maintenance, soft skills? What have y'all run into that's some of the hardest skills to find among job applicants today?
Tool makers.
Done.
Done. You want to leave it at that? Go for it.
Tool makers is definitely the hardest down here. I came from Canada, much like Sherry. In Canada, we have a formal tool maker apprenticeship program that the government implemented years and years ago. That's government driven through industry. And from my understanding, Alabama used to have that. I don't even know how many years ago. Many years ago. I think we have probably 30 years ago. I don't know how or why that went away, but as automotives come back, that's one thing that's seemed to not come back, is that formal toolmaker training. Now through the COMET program, it's gotten better now. We got machining, but it's still a very technical trade. So the majority of the work is done and training is done at our plant and our facility through me and the other tool makers. But tool makers is just kind of unique, and I've talked to Keri before, because a lot of these kids that are in the Etowah vocational school, they're in machining and stuff, and they might not know what really a tool maker is, because there's machining involved, but there's a little bit more hands-on troubleshooting, kind of using your head a little bit more than standing behind a CNC machine or a manual machine. So definitely, like Sherry said, that's the biggest struggle for us, and we've even had to look outside of the country to find tool makers. We've had to go through the government because we can't even find seasoned tool makers in Alabama.
Nationwide.
It's one of those struggles. I think Unipress has the same problem for most of the stamping plants that I've talked to. But it's getting better. I've got one really good kid that's come through before COMET, but the machining program through here, he's succeeded. I've got another two. But through the COMET, we're kind of making that better, but still it's a struggle for us because we have to train them from the ground up. So I only have 2 seasoned guys where I should have like 4 to train. So it's a struggle that way. And I think Unipress would have the same opinion with that. And I'm not too sure, and I don't know if anybody knows why that program went away in Alabama, the formal apprenticeship, but through COMET, it's definitely we needed that. That was the one thing we were missing. So working with Keri, we're kind of dialing that in. There's still a few things that I've talked to the teachers that we kind of got to dial in on, but it's definitely getting better. We're able to, but with training, that's the only way we're going to get new guys, but still it's the seasoned guys are not around. We've had to go now outside of the country to find them. Unfortunately, that's the only way for us to be successful in that. And we don't want to do that, but in order for us to succeed, we have to.
And on that note, I'm the HR manager where Andrew and I work, and that program, the minimum start wage for that program is $30 an hour. We can't find people to do that.
Minimum.
Minimum.
Yeah.
Chris, Sherry on, what are you guys going to for your hardest skills to find for your others?
You want to speak to it first?
Ours is CNC machinists. We're a very small company and we don't have time to train. So we have hired some people that said they had experience and it just didn't work out. So that is something that we have issues with. Also maintenance. We've looked for a long time for a maintenance person, with skills for this type of equipment, and that's kind of hard for us too. So, but yeah, ditto on what you said, absolutely.
So just to elaborate a little bit on him, tool makers, they've got to be able to weld, they've got to be able to grind. They've got, when I say grind, using hand tools, doing the physical precision work on our stamping dies, where we're going in and forming the panels that go in these vehicles. And they have to be in certain specs, certain thicknesses. The metallurgy's got to be right. Our tool guys have got to be able to perform those skills. They've got to be able to run mills, lathes, surface grinders, all the tools that go in a machine shop. So it is a trade that is intensive on learning, and it's a lot of hands-on stuff. That's why we struggle to have it. The kids, they go, that's a little more work than I want to do. But a tool guy, a good tool guy, a seasoned guy, he can write his own ticket. He can name his price when he walks in these places because it is a dying trade. And that's something that we really need back as Alabama grows its automotive landscape.
And it's turning into a kind of a cutthroat thing too,
Yes.
because what's happening is like Unipress will call my guy up and say, hey, how much are you making? Well, 36, I'll give you 39, right? So then I lose a guy. So it's not helping manufacturing.
And then
It's
they get
kinda-
sick of their hours
Yeah.
and say, hey, can we come back? And go, we need 40.
Yeah. So it turns into this, because everybody's struggling finding tool makers. And it's not just that. Every plant, every company, like my guys come to me almost weekly. Say, oh, this guy's offering me 40. This guy's offering me. I said, well, do you want to work, I have to sell it. Do you want to work 3 shifts? Do you have straight, it's just, so that tool makers is just, it's Alabama statewide. Well, even into Tennessee, I get emails headhunting me. It's this trade, and these kids, are, if they stick with it, for the 3 or 4 years and get good at it, the money's there.
Okay. I'm going to, follow back up to the very first question I started, where we started talking about the manufacturing workforce landscape in the county. But I want to follow back up and kind of tie back in, because you guys had some great points that kind of tie to this question. Given the perception, we already talked about perception going on with students and parents and educators now. So I'd like for each of you, if you wouldn't mind, what do you think? So what can we do? Everybody has echoed that that's an issue. As a group and as a county and as schools and as educators and workforce and people in the community, what can we do to help change the perception of manufacturing among the students and parents so that we can get them to understand this is a high-tech, stable opportunity that's full, or high-tech, stable career, not a job. It's a career, because once you have this opportunity, you don't have to go hunt a job. You just decide where you're going to work. But what can we do as a group to help educate and change that perception of the students and parents? I know I need you about keeping you off clock for that. What do you think? What's something we can do?
I still think it's, I know we hit the high schools, but we need to start earlier. We need to, if Etowah County is really wanting to bring in these big manufacturers, it starts in middle school. It starts educating parents in middle school. You know, whether that's coming doing some kind of a conference at a middle school, teachers, parent conference, and have industry come in and explain. You know, I think that's kind of where it starts at. It's good to get into the high schools, but I think it starts earlier. And like I said, my kids both kind of knew that they wanted to do kind of that stuff, hands-on stuff in middle school. So I think educating at an earlier stage, if Etowah County really wants to flourish in the manufacturing, it's going to have to start earlier, not just at the senior high school level, and then these kids are scrambling, right?
We have a promotional video that Prince Metal Stamping's put together for their hiring process. Actually, Danny, you were involved in that. I remember that. And I think we get a lot of looks when we play that video about, you know, this, actually some of this is pretty cool. You know, you watch the robots move. It's not the dark, dirty, wherever your 3Ds were there, environment. You know, everything's happening behind a cage. You're just basically loading and unloading a part, checking. I think the promotional videos, the testimonials, any type of literature we can get out. I remember back in Canada, there was a series of commercials that were on TV about skilled trades and the lifestyle you can have. And Buddy had the tool maker license plate. It was kind of cheesy, but it worked. It got the idea across that it pays well. And it needs to get into the home somehow. And I'm not sure how to get this promotional video into someone's house, but if the parents can't come to us, we need to get that out somehow. And
You're right.
those techniques, the video gets some good attention.
Positive feedback.
Yeah.
Well, I'd say too, if somebody's been in your facility several times, you're right. It's pretty cool to go in and see robots moving everything. I know for a lot of your snack compresses, you have a robot pick the piece of metal up and place it.
Yep.
They're not it's not manual, not how about you have it pick up a sheet of metal and put it in here, this one go through a tank and sample part out. The robot's doing that. I think the robot at the end of it gets it. You have now your vision that checks for defects. So it's a big deal. It's automated. Even your welding process, you got different robots that are different stages. So for your facility, I know it's tons of robots and tons of high-tech things that you might not think is capable, that you don't think is there going on day to day. But we walk in and see it, and that's what you see. Well, there's robots everywhere going on in this facility. So we're running short on time, so I'm gonna kind of shift a little bit. So each panelist, I want you to please think about this and answer. So if you could give me one sentence, what's one initiative or collaboration that you'd like to see launched in the next year that can help strengthen Etowah County's manufacturing pipeline?
That's a lot. That's a good question.
Sorry, I didn't really give a lot of Travis, so that's on you. I got to give him a second to think.
Okay. I think piggybacking on what they just said, I think every parent wants better for their kid than they had. I think we've got to educate parents that manufacturing could be better. It may be better. And I don't think, like kind of what y'all said, I know, and I'm an academia guy. I love academia, and I think we can do this with academia. But I think if they see paychecks and understand it, I'll give you one example. And my early career at Gulf State Steel, back in '93, they sent me to Provo, Utah. We were getting ready to do a big automation job on our plate mill, and they sent me to Utah. Beautiful snow-capped mountains in Provo, just beautiful country. And the steel mill I was at, they said back in the early 1900s, the town wanted that steel mill out of their town. It's nasty and dirty, they wanted it out of their town. So what their payroll did for about 2 months was they did all their payroll in $2 bills. And then they did an advertising campaign through their local paper, and they asked all the businesses, they said, go check your cash registers and see if you got any $2 bills in your cash register. That's what we've been doing payroll for the last 2 months. Well, the community shut up about wanting the steel mill gone out of their town. I really think that people just need to understand that the wages that can be made in manufacturing. I don't think the education has gone to the parents for them to realize that little Johnny and little Susie can make those kind of wages working in manufacturing. And I think that that was a long sentence, but
That's a good sentence, so I think it's a powerful sentence.
That's what we got to get across to
I got
people.
some semicolons and stuff in it, right?
I think what Sherry said and what Andrew said, we need to get it to the families. I think it's something that maybe we need to work together as an industry and not just a company, for Prince, for us, for KTH in Leesburg, our local area here. We're all doing the same things. We're seeing the same guys come through the door. Just like I said, my guy goes there for $1 more, or they come here because I give them $1 more, and they don't like the hours, they go back. But it's our whole industry. It's not just Unipress or Prince or Honda or KTH. All these guys have been through all of our facilities, and we've got to get to where we're looking at it as one big industry instead of a bunch of different companies. Because back when it was Gulf State Steel and Goodyear, we had two big companies, two big industries. So if we get all the smaller tier 1 stuff that we're doing now tied as one big industry and get it out to the families, ads on TV, things like that Gadsden State could help with, and educate them. And we also got to educate them that it's not just a man's world in maintenance and tooling. One of my best right now, she's a 24-year-old single mother of 3, and she's my best. So that's the other thing we've got to get out, that it's not just the man's world in the industry.
So I'm going to go, I'm completely agree with what Chris has said. I'm going to go a little bit different because I do know that we need to get to our younger students. But once we get them into a role in college and training, we need to be able to retain that talent here in Alabama.
Yes.
So the Economic Development Partnership of Alabama did a study, and one of the takeaways from that was those students that did an internship or some sort of work-based learning while they were in college were more likely to stay here in Alabama. And so, for companies, to be able to offer maybe some internships and those opportunities to keep them here, because once they get into our companies and see, and then we've seen it with Fame and with Comet, they want to stay here. They want to stay with that company, but they want to stay here in Alabama. And we do need to keep our people here. We spend a lot of our tax dollars, training and educating our folks. And so we want to keep and retain those people right here in Alabama.
Anybody else say anything?
Yeah. What I'd like to say is there's an old saying, it takes a village to raise a child. We all agree that that is our future. And we need to determine how we're going to get these kids into these programs. I think we need more community education. We definitely need more partnerships with the college. And I think we probably need to include our politicians in a lot of this, that they could help get the word out and help put together some type of, like a job fair. And I think we definitely need more job fairs to help with this.
I'll chime in on the job fairs. Prince Metal Stamping's attended 2 in the last year. I remember us going to Gadsden City High School. I'm not sure if all the high schools have a job fair or not, but we attended that one. And I mean, it's an event at the school. It's where's my takeaway gift, and that's what it becomes. They come home with a bag of stuff, but it's hard to get them. It's hard to get them focused when it's so many people. I mean, I've gone with Keri to different high schools and one high school at a time to promote Fame and Comet. And when you have a smaller, more captive audience, I believe they're listening more than at a job fair. And don't get me wrong, I like the job fair. We've been to Sand Mountain as well. All the high schools came by bus to that one place. They're more interested in the venue. It is a pretty cool place. But I mean, I love the job fairs. I guess it's an idea of getting us out there, we've got our little video playing and so on, but it's hard to get them engaged in a big job fair environment. I mean, I've been to the ones at the venue as well, but it's, I like the environment that we do individually. One of these questions talked about, have we ever gone to the high school without the college?
Right.
I didn't know I could do that.
We did it once.
Well, we went to the career tech centers, yeah. But if I can get into those places, if I can get in, I mean, that's something we all should talk about, what our availability is like.
And I think that's something we've seen that benefited us. It means more when the industry walks in with their industry passion, industry shirt, because you're there to offer the job. We're there to make them, we're there as a college to say, hey, I want you to pay us money. I want you to come get a skill or trade with us. So it's something you need to get with them, but I think that's what we consider very impactful and beneficial. And I know Keri talked about that, how much that stuff to us.
And it makes my life so much easier when you plan because I do a lot less tacky. But so what we've seen with both of these programs is when industry they do go into the schools, conversations start talking. I've had students in the past that may not have signed up for a FAME or comment, but a parent called and said, hey, I can't really go to school right now, but I heard about this industry. Can I get the information on there? This led to some other jobs, not in the fields that we're offering, but other jobs. So just us getting out in the community with our industry partner and talking about what the programs are, and not just FAME or comment. That's my wheelhouse, so I talk about that every day, all day long. We have so many other programs here at Gadsden State that are going to be able to offer those co-op opportunities, where if we have a student that is taking the HVAC, I offer and I ask you, if you know someone that's in any of the fields that we offer training for, call me and have them come in and talk to our students, especially if they need a co-op position or if they are ready to help upskill and add to the workforce. We ask for industry to come in and talk to our students to get the word out about their company. And that's where it starts, because it's just a conversation. One conversation leads to another, and by the time we have all the conversations, more people know not only about Gadsden State, but also about our industry partners and what Etowah County has to offer. And that's kind of where it's going to have to start, is just with those big conversations. And at Gadsden State, we are more than welcoming for you to come in and talk to any of our students about positioning that you have, so that we can get them started on a co-op.
Anybody have anything for one last question?
Yeah, one last thing.
Yeah.
One of the things I have found very positive is the graduates from the program. We have, I think, 6 graduates from FAME. Can you hear me? 6 graduates from FAME that help promote the program to their friends. So if other kids in school say, hey, this guy just graduated FAME, look at him, he's working over there, he's making X, he got a brand new car, that helps. There's enough getting into the field now. There's enough in the field promoting it that I think that attributes to why it's catching on.
Yep. One last question, and I'll be mindful. So each of you up here today, you could talk directly to a high school senior today. What would you tell them about choosing a field what would you tell them about choosing a career in manufacturing right here in Etowah County? So if you get a senior in front of you, what could you tell them right now?
No?
That free. That's a big thing. That free and make a paycheck every week. Like I said, I've been fortunate. I'm a skilled tradesman. I've done it since I was 18. I'm 47 now, so I've done it my whole life. And, I realized my kids had the same kind of mindset at an early age that, they were a Lego kid, we like call them, So I knew that going to college and all that kind of stuff wasn't going to be for them. So, so I'm fortunate to see kind of the fruits of me teaching them what I knew growing up, and then them just going out and realizing, they can make money of that. Like I said, my son's 20 years old. He's, you bring home $8,000 to $1,000 a week. Never has a lick of debt to have equipment. He learned it at the Etowah both of my kids went right through all 4 years through the Etowah Vocational School. So, and I love that place. Like, we're fortunate, and I push that as much as I can with kids and seniors. And I'm going to say something a little less popular, but athletics and skilled trades seem to be this down here, unfortunately. And the one kid I have right now, 3-sport athlete, wanted to go play football, had a little bit of a scholarship in Florida somewhere. His and his dad sat down and realized he was still, after 4 years, going to be $60,000 in debt. I said, well, what were you going to do? No idea. I wanted to play football. Yeah. Maybe be a football coach at the end of it. And I said, well, what do you make being a football coach? So I kind of sat down, and he's going through comedy. He's in his last semester. So, and that was always my youngest son. He was a wrestler through high school, and always a struggle doing wrestling and being able to get over to the school for welding class. And it was always a struggle with the scheduling with that kind of stuff. And like I said, it's that education. Parents need to know there's something. I know there's going to be kids out there thinking they're going to get a few scholarships going to college, but the fact is, doing athletics, in fact, is it's not. It doesn't happen to majority of kids, and that this is a big opportunity to have that debt-free and a paycheck every week learning while you're working.
The money is there, the being debt-free is there, but the availability of the work right here in your hometown, that's big. I don't know that, I didn't grow up here, but I have the feeling that if you didn't work at Goodyear, you didn't work at the steel plant, you weren't going to make a lot of money in this town. There's money to be made in this town, but students need to recognize that it's here. They just need to get in a field where they can make it, and being debt-free doesn't hurt.
I would say we need you. We need you right here in our community, right here in Etowah County. And I would also say that there is something for everybody in manufacturing. You know, it can be a tool and die maker, and it could be precision machining, but manufacturing has one of everything. You know, they have HR, they have, marketing, IT. So we need you, and we need you to fill those jobs right here locally.
Well, mine's a little different. I played baseball here at Gadsden State, and I took my trade while I was here. I ended up graduating with a bachelor's degree from Jacksonville. I've ended up where I'm at. But 20 years ago when Honda opened up, my dad was pushing me. He had owned his own plumbing company for 30 years, pushing me, go work at Honda. I'm not working in a plant, Dad. Because I had the perception every 18, 19-year-old kid has right now. Fast forward 10 years and I go in it, and it's been the best decision I've made. I've worked for General Electric Nuclear Energy. I've worked for Alpha Insurance as an agent. I worked with Centos for 8 years as manager. But when I got back to working with my hands and seeing the fruits of what I was doing, I enjoyed my job. And I've been back in this field for 10 years and have loved most of it. But that's the thing I think we need to make sure our kids understand. Yeah, you work with your hands. Yeah, there will be days you get dirty. But when you finish what you're working on, you can see the fruits of what you did.
I would tell a young person that they have a good future here. You have a bright future here. And the tools are available here for you to achieve your goals. The college, the COMET, the FAME program. There's all kind of programs here that can help the kids to achieve their goals.
Yeah, I would tell a kid that, look at what you're about to decide where you're going to be in 4 or 5 years. Is what are you doing? If you're going to college, if you're going to a trade, if you're going to manufacturing, where are you going? Are you going to be able to have a job? And sadly enough, I think sometimes people pick things that they may not be able to get a job in 5 or 6 years. But then the next thing I tell them is, you can do whatever you want to do in Etowah County. And like I said, I've been here my whole life. I've seen it go up. I've seen it go down. Etowah County's ticking up right now. The things going on in this county, I'm telling you.
Yes.
And the whole idea is when the tide rises, everybody rises. Everybody's fixing to rise up, because I'm telling you, the things happening here is getting better and better. And I travel the state. I do training all over the state of Alabama. And, I know y'all was talking about, we need people and where they're going to come from. I'll just say one town, Huntsville. Huntsville doesn't have all these people. They move in every day. They're building apartments and houses faster than, you can shake a stick. If the more comes here, the more is going to, people will come. So that's not going to be a problem, but you can stay here. You don't have to leave to be successful.
So what I would tell high school seniors just about what I do every day. We have programs that you graduate as a ticket group in 5 semesters. When we graduate, and you'll be in a highway Taiwan field, and with Comet and Thane, not only are those programs 5 semesters, they're going to work 3 days a week. They're going to go to school 2 days a week. They're gaining 2 years worth of verified work experience. They are gaining a degree. Because I don't know if many of you have applied for a job lately, but it asks for education and for experience. With these 2 programs, absolutely with Thane and Comet, our students are able to walk in and fill out the application with the experience, with the education. All the programs here at Gadsden State, as far as technical, come and see them. Most of them are going to be that high-wage, high-demand field. And we have availability all the time for you to be able to come out and tour the facilities. And we would be happy to be able to tell you a little bit more about each of the programs. Because if there's something that you want to be, we probably offer it at Gadsden State.
Keri, Jeff, Sherry-Ann, Chris, Lisa, Sherry, Andrew, thank you so much for your time today. Thank you for coming out. I know you're all busy, but I appreciate your time. If you don't mind, please vote for you. There you go. Philip, I think that's our Q&A, my friend. I think it's back to you for your last remarks. Anything you'd like to finish up with, sir?
So forgive me for not being as polished when I said this. This is going off the cuff. And please don't take this the wrong way. So I've got 4 kids, okay? And every birthday, I always say, like, what do you want to be? Because it always changes every single year. What do you want to be? They always want to say dentist or doctor or lawyer. I don't know why they always think this. I want one of my kids to say, I want to be a tool guy, right? Because like we just had a 5th grade graduation here real last night, and Travis Thacker said, and you see all these bright kids, but again, the conversations that they have, it is frowned upon. They look down on the fact when you start talking about these type of jobs. Why do we do a workforce summit? It's for this very reason. It's for us to be able to get smartened up by y'all. So then that way, we should go out to the community and talk about all the availability, high-paying jobs, and bright futures that can happen in Etowah County. So we will have another one of these that'll be taking place in the fall. I know that with what Gadsden State offers with the Gadsden City Tech Blitz that was here, we're going to continue to do more and more of these things. We've even had conversations when you were talking about how kids expect swag when they come to job fairs. We've had conversations with the Career Center as to how we can retrain these kids when they go to job fairs to not just expect to hand out, but to actually have a conversation with y'all, and they know that they can immediately go debt-free and have an outstanding job that they can have for years and years to come. So thank you all so much. Thank you, Gadsden State Community College. Thank you all for attending. We do have this being recorded, so we'll be available on social media and on YouTube in the future. And y'all have a blessed day. I'll see you in a minute again.